Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I want to discuss some of the basic drivers that keep us stuck and sick with chronic illness and also are keeping us sick in this world that we live in today as humanity is going down this destructive path. So let's take a look at why this is happening on an individual level and why this is happening on a more global scale. So some of the drivers that keep us stuck and sick are our need for safety, approval, and acceptance. So these are deep human desires. And I want to talk about them a little bit because they're so important. And then I want to get to the remedy. What can we do to begin to heal ourselves if we have chronic illness, if you have chronic illness or you've been sick for a long time? And then how, again, on a bigger, broader scale, can humanity heal itself and get set on the right track again? All right, so let's look at these three basic drivers of of really our motives. So safety, acceptance, and approval. We all long for these three things. And in fact, they're some of our most basic, innate, primal desires. We need these. I would say they're higher than desires. That they're exactly what drives us. Okay, so let's take a look. I know this because when I got sick, first of all, when my mom died, and it was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now, when my mom died, a part of me that always felt unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, unconditional approval, and I felt completely 100% safe just because she loved me and she was in this world, and all of those things made me feel accepted, loved, safe, and approved of all the time. She did a great job as a mother making me feel that way. And I know not everybody has that. But when she died, a piece of that got taken from me. And I didn't feel so safe in the world anymore. I didn't feel quite so accepted, quite so approved of, quite so loved. I had this sense inside me that it wasn't unconditional anymore. And in fact, those things started to become conditional, slightly more conditional, right? So before she died, I felt I could say or do no wrong. And even if she wasn't happy with me, even if she didn't like what I said, even if I was getting in trouble, whatever, growing up, I felt unconditionally accepted, safe, loved, approved of, because I knew that no matter what happened, she was still going to think that of me. She was still going to accept me. She would never leave me, and she was still going to love me. So that's this unconditional nature. I felt free. When you feel like you have safety and acceptance and approval, when you feel like you have that, this deep acceptance and you're safe on a very, very deep level, you feel freedom, extreme freedom, because you're free to be who you are. You're free to say what you feel. You're free in all the ways that matter, because at the end of the day, you know that you're still, it's unconditional, this acceptance that you have, this love that you have by somebody. And so after that, it wasn't as though everything went away in my life. It didn't. I still had people who loved me, were with me. I just felt everything, I can't explain it, but this unconditional part became less. And I started to feel more like the way you do with your friends in high school, where it's not unconditional, but it's conditional, right? You're loved, but it's on the condition that you do this, you say this, you act this way. Like if you go too far, that love might get taken away. Same with acceptance, right? You're accepted in the tribe, you're part of the family, you're part of everything, you're really accepted. But if you go against, everything that I think, or you don't quite live up to my standards, that maybe it's like there is a moment that it can go too far and I might take away my acceptance of you, right? That like I could walk away. Like my husband could divorce me. He could leave me, right? I didn't feel that way with my mom. I felt like she never ever would, no matter what. It was a blanket of safety. So when I got sick, when I felt sick and I dealt and struggled with chronic illness and things got extremely, extremely bad for me, I felt that I lost everybody and everything. So I felt that conditionality came true, meaning it got so bad, I was not me anymore. I was ravaged from the inside out. I was, every fiber of my being was changed because it was in so much excruciating turmoil and pain from this illness, from this injury, that I was in survival mode. And I was really scared, really sick. I was suffering beyond human words. And what happened is that conditionality, that unconditional love that I still thought I had at this point, I hadn't been able to put words on it. I just assumed that like that feeling of always being unconditionally loved, accepted, and safe would never go away. And the moment I fell into this toxic injury, my sense of safety was pulled out all in one fell swoop. I no longer felt safe in the world anymore. I no longer trusted. I thought I was going to die. So my sense of safety was pulled out from under me. And along with my sense of safety, many of the people and the friends and extended family members and everything turned away from me. They turned away. And that unconditional part of love and acceptance got pulled away, or it got broken off. It got severed, because I realized at that moment, that's when I truly realized that my acceptance and love and my safety, my security within the tribe that I had been living my whole life was conditional. And because I got so bad and that scared everyone, it was easier to turn away. It was like that's where the line was drawn, the conditional line of like, and not everybody. I mean, some people did stay with me and show me love and show me acceptance through this whole period. But many, many people, the fabric of the community that I had fell away from under me. And in that moment, when I no longer had the security of unconditional acceptance, belonging, approval, safety anymore, I suddenly knew at some point, I mean, of course, this was long in the process. Now I have hindsight looking back, right? It wasn't this simple at the time. But eventually I came to know that because I had given away my power, and I wasn't confident in my own power, what I looked for was approval from others. I looked for approval and love from others. And that, when reflected back to me, gave me my self-worth in the world. So if I wasn't being approved of, then my self-worth was low. If it was being reflected back to me by somebody who approved and loved me, then my self-worth was high. And what I didn't know at the time was that if I didn't need the approval of others, if I didn't need the love, belonging, approval, and I'm not, like, this is innate, right? This is how we are programmed as human beings to become part of a tribe and to look for acceptance and belonging outside of ourselves. But had I learned growing up that I, like my mom, could give myself unconditional love, acceptance, approval, and a sense of safety, that it didn't matter what anyone else in the world did, sort of like my mom, that everything else could fall apart and it wouldn't matter. I could be there. to shine and reflect back to myself that acceptance, that approval. And then again, my own self-esteem would be built from this, but internally, so not needing, not seeking the approval of others. And so I think when people are chronically ill, and when I was chronically ill, we feel so alone and so unsafe, right? Everything is threatened. And again, we feel like we're not part of the tribe. We feel like we're cut off from this acceptance that we deeply, deeply as a human being yearn for, right? It's the drive that moves all of us. And because I was looking for it outside, I didn't know that the remedy was to fill myself with self-love, self-acceptance, self-approval. I could give these gifts to myself. And when I did, I started to believe in myself. I started to believe that I could heal myself, that I could pull myself out of this. I started to believe that I was worth it. I started to believe that no matter what happened, I had myself. I could count on myself. And I was never going to let myself down. I was never going to say these negative things that I used to look in the mirror and say to myself. Like, you're not good enough. You'll never make it. You're going to die from this. How could you do that? You're so stupid. Why did you let this happen? Like really negative, horrible things I would just say over and over to myself. And when I realized that I had to be the unconditional love that my mom used to give me, I had to be that for myself. And when you are that unconditional love, you're not afraid anymore. You're not afraid to lose. So one of the key factors to healing yourself from chronic illness is to build up this sense of esteem that you have for yourself from within. Because if you feel like you give yourself this love, like you're never going to be alone, like you can't be abandoned because you have you. You have the love of the most powerful thing. And not just the love from yourself, but the love from everything in the universe and God can come through you. Then you cannot be abandoned. You cannot be unsafe. You cannot be unaccepted. You're part of it. You're part of creation, and you're part of an eternal being who is loved beyond measure. And when you start to feel that way about yourself, you can start to heal. You can start to take care of yourself. You can start to do the things that you need to heal yourself. It doesn't matter. You don't need to keep running. I don't know how many doctors I ran to, 70, right? Over 70. I was desperate. I was looking for help because I didn't know I had the power to help myself. I would give my power away. Like, please, what can you do? What can we do? Like, I cannot feel this pain and these symptoms anymore. Please help me. I was desperate and I was begging for help. I was begging for approval. I was begging for acceptance. I was begging for love. I was begging to feel safe and giving that job to someone else who was never going to love me like my mom and who would never love me the way I could love me. So when I realized that I loved myself more than anyone and it was up to me, then I started to take my own power back. And when I took my own power back, I was like, this is what I need to do. I was confident. And it didn't matter what all the people said out there. It didn't matter that it went against the doctor's advice. It didn't matter that, people in my family or friends or whatever, that they thought badly of me, or they weren't sure it was going to work, or they said all these negative things, like to try to poke holes in things and criticize, like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Like, that doesn't sound good. Like, it's human nature to do this. But when I had the confidence and love in myself that said yes, because I love myself and I'm not afraid to stand in my own power now and do what I need to do to heal myself because I love myself. And it doesn't matter. I didn't seek my approval outside anymore. Not from authority, the doctors, like anybody, not the most extreme experts anymore. I stopped giving my power, right, to all my family and friends and just wanting their approval, wanting them to like me and like, do you think this looks good on me? Do you like my hair? Like, none of that mattered anymore because I didn't need their approval to feel okay, to feel safe, to feel accepted, to feel loved. I felt that way on my own. Yes, I wanted them. I wanted to be part of a tribe. I wanted to bond. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to interact, but I didn't need it because I already had unconditional love inside, unconditional acceptance inside. I had made a pact with myself. I would never abandon myself. And that made all the difference moving forward. And so when I was judged or when I was criticized or when I wasn't approved of, yes, it bothered me. I'm human. It does bother me. But it didn't shatter my self-esteem. It didn't shatter and make me feel alone and abandoned because I still had the most important love that I needed, which was unconditional, which was given by the universe. It was given by God. It was given by my angel mother. It was all around me. All I had to do was shine the light from within, shine the love from within. So yes, it still hurts when people criticize or don't approve or you feel like, but it gave me freedom back, freedom to be me, freedom to express myself, freedom to not worry what other people think, and freedom now in this pandemic to be able to speak with my own convictions and what I believe to be true, to stand in the power of my own decisions and not be swayed because I want acceptance, I want approval, I don't want to be judged, I don't want to be criticized, I don't want to be cut off from the tribe. All the things that have been going on, all the psychological warfare, I would say, that has been being bombarded at us from the CDC, from the media, from all angles, from family, from friends, from news media outlets, right? There's a party line, and that party line is you must get this. It's safe and effective. It's beneficial to everyone, and don't question it. And a lot of people, and this is what I wanted to discuss today, a lot of people may not have reason to question it, but they turn their mind off from looking because looking would mean that they're going against the norm or they're going against society or they're going against their own community or their friends or their family or their tribe or what's expected of them, what makes them good, because they just want to be accepted and they want to feel safe and accepted, approved of. So because it's a biological drive. And the evidence is out there, regardless of the fake fact checkers, regardless of the suppression, regardless of all the information being taken down and being under the guise of it being good for public health, and like that all this disinformation is like somehow corrupting people. I mean, if you had something to hide, you would take the information down too, right? But the information is there, right? The injuries are there. You can look them up. The people, the real stories, the people speaking out of this, they're there. They're real. Everything's there. The plan, the master plan, everything that is happening in the world right now is there if you want to see it. Most of us don't want to see it because seeing it would mean that we're not safe. And to remember, safety and acceptance drives us as human beings. Our nervous system is built to scan for safety all day long, to keep us safe in every single situation, consciously and unconsciously. We seek safety above all else. And the second thing we seek is approval, acceptance, to be accepted by the tribe. And psychologically, governments know this. And they use it against us in a situation like this. So I'm not here to preach what I already know is true because I've looked, I've seen all the information, and it's not misinformation. Okay, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've read it all. I've gone through it. I spent the greater part of last night just awake thinking about this because I couldn't sleep. My husband was snoring. That's an aside point. I was awake and I was wondering, I was thinking, how is it possible for everybody in society to be going along with something like this on a mass scale? How is it actually possible that you have everyone from the people in charge at the top filtering down to the agencies and the CDC and the FDA and all the agencies approved things, to the pharmaceutical companies who are making the money, but then all the doctors, right, and nurses and workers and healthcare workers, and then all the companies and all the people they're hiring to be fact checkers and shut everything down and suppress it. And I'm thinking, this is a big, not everybody even knows what's happening, yet Thinking, how on such a grand scale can people be going along with something that's really taking humanity into a dangerous place? And if I'm right? If I'm right, which I already know I am because I've looked. So I don't need anyone else to tell me. But how can everybody else not want to see when health is at stake, when the future of humanity is at stake with something so large? And I pondered and I pondered and I was thinking about the safety and the approval and the acceptance. And I thought to myself, most people who seek safety, who seek approval and acceptance, will never question. Unless it happens to them specifically or somebody that they love deeply in their family, unless they or someone they love deeply gets injured or is affected personally and severely by this, then they aren't strong enough within themselves to even want to question, because even questioning, even looking, even listening is unsafe. Because if somebody doesn't accept you and approve of you, society, your community, your government, your family, your friends, I mean, it's big, right? And they think and paint you in a bad light for questioning or standing up or being able to, speak your truth without worry that it's going to offend someone. And then when it offends someone, they're going to not like you anymore, take their love away from you, their friendship away from you, turn away from you. If anyone in society did, like if one of those fact checkers said, you know what, like I fact checked this and it's actually, but they were paid and they were told to shut it down, or if a doctor, for instance, is told what to do, what to give out, and he doesn't agree with it, and he's seen some evidence with his patients and he's read some data, but he knows if he speaks up, he'll be ostracized. So when people are afraid to be, when there's a real power dynamic, people are afraid to be literally fired, ostracized, have their livelihoods, their careers taken away. That's one huge level of control. But then the second thing is, well, what's my neighbor going to think? What's my family going to think? What about my community? If those people turn from you, then you feel so vulnerable and so unsafe in this world that people and doctors would rather just believe the narrative and say, well, I'm just going to believe in something that someone tells me because I trust them and I want to be a good person. And our need to be good, our need to people please, our need to be approved of for this acceptance keeps us safe. And again, safety is what we yearn for above all else. So what is the remedy here? The remedy is to love yourself more. The remedy is the same. It's to give yourself unconditional love, acceptance, approval, and a sense of secure and safety in yourself. That you're okay if you say something different than other people. You're okay. It doesn't strip your world apart and make you abandon and feel everything, because you cannot be abandoned with yourself. So just like kids, just like my daughter would go to school and say, come home from school and say, Mom, I didn't want to do this at school, but my friend said that if I didn't do it, she wouldn't like me anymore and she wouldn't be my friend, so I ended up doing it. At recess or playing the game I didn't want to play, right? She's little, rather than just standing up and saying I don't want to or whatever. She was afraid. Everyone's afraid at recess. They just go along with the status quo because they don't want the person to be mad at them. They don't want to feel like they don't have friends. They don't want to be cut off. They don't want to be ostracized. And this is okay. I understand why people don't want to be this way. So the remedy is to flood yourself with so much love. Give yourself so much acceptance and approval that no matter what issue you stand up against, even if it's you against the world, but if you really believe it in your heart and you're taking a moral stance for integrity and something that you believe in, you won't be afraid. You will still feel free doing that, saying that. Because the thing that you fear, by saying it, the freedom that you fear cannot go away, because you still are safe, because you're loved and you're accepted and you're giving yourself that. And it doesn't matter, we're not seeking our approval outward anymore. So, on a broader scale, the next remedy for humanity is to raise children who believe in themselves, who value self love and self approval and self acceptance above all else. We teach them not to seek approval outside, even if that means us, because us as parents, we manipulate children in a way. Like, do this and you're accepted. Don't do this and you're bad. You're going to your room, you're going to be punished. I mean, we teach these things at an early age. And so if we really want the next generation to be able to be free and to stand up for their morals and their values and their convictions and to question and to not be afraid to question a narrative or anything or anyone, then we must instill in them a major sense of self-esteem, and that they need to rely on their self for self-love, self-approval, and complete 100% unconditional acceptance, self-acceptance. Not only do we want to teach this to our children, but we want to instill it in everybody else that we come into contact with. Remind people how powerful they are. Remind people that they're infinite. I mean, you can't go around saying this, it would be weird. But just in our interactions, we can bring strength, truth, safety, love, unconditional love, and acceptance to everyone that we meet, to everyone that is in our tribe. And then it's contagious. They might start to believe in their own self. They might start to say, wow, she just said what she believed. She wasn't afraid that I wasn't going to like her anymore. She just is being and doing what she believes in and speaking her own truth. And even if they don't agree with you, and even if they think you're wrong, they will still admire you to have enough self-confidence and love, and that will be inspirational to others, inspiring others to be strong enough to not need and seek and beg and just need the approval and acceptance of others to feel good within. When you spread this, other people start to believe in themselves. Other people start to take their own power back. So just like I needed to do when I needed to heal myself, when I was on the ground, when I didn't think I was going to make it, when I knew I was going to die, and every 70 odd doctors abandoned me, and I felt abandoned, alone, unsafe, unloved, and cut off from everything and everyone and everything I had ever known. The thing that put me on the path to healing was taking my power and saying, I'll give it to myself. I will love myself. I will accept myself. I will never abandon myself. And that carried me through the actions I needed to take in order to get where I am today, because not all of those actions were approved of by others, but it didn't matter anymore. And I think when you've been at rock bottom, you have the luxury of knowing that that's as low as you can go. And when you've lost everything and realized you didn't die and everything ended up being okay again, you sort of have a newfound sense of safety and freedom, and like, you don't need others. Like, I witnessed my own power bringing myself back to health. And so I knew that it wasn't the doctors, wasn't the people, it wasn't anyone else. It was me. It was me who had to do it. And I never could have done it if I continued to berate myself and criticize myself and question myself and seek approval and validation and acceptance and love and safety and help outside. Right? And I did for a long time in my journey. So don't get me wrong. I'm not being sanctimonious about this. I did all the wrong things for a long period of time. But then once I started to take my power and to give myself, I was free again. I was free to be me. I was free to speak my mind, eat what I wanted, say what I wanted, not worry about other people, because I had myself. And I'd already lost everyone anyway. I had nothing to lose. So that is how you help yourself heal. That's the most important thing. And I think with humanity as a whole, with what's going on right now, and so many people, like, from every industry, like on board, just going along. We have to realize that it's because everybody is afraid to not be accepted. And so sometimes that will trump anything, right? Because when we're accepted, we're safe. And again, that trumps everything. And so we have to be compassionate to these people. And we have to show them love, show them compassion, show them acceptance, show them everything that they need, and show them how it looks for somebody to be full of self-love and to be able to speak their truth without fear. And when we do that, we inspire, we spread, love grows, self-approval grows, self-acceptance grows, fear dissipates, the need for safety through others dissipate, the need for this approval and acceptance and just like the people pleasing, it starts to dissipate. We don't have to fight to be heard. We can have our opinions, we can say them, and we don't have to fight. We don't have to fight against anyone. We just have to hold up what is true and continue to stand in our own power and our own beliefs and our own integrity and our own moral values and know that it is okay that we're saying this, and we don't have to fear being ostracized, being shamed, being shunned, being, criticized or judged or not approved of, abandoned and not accepted and cut off, because we are okay on our own. Yes, we want everybody, but we're also okay on our own. And when we can believe that, we're free. We're free. And I want freedom for you. So stay free, spread freedom, and I will see you in the next video.